Business owners, if you don't have these two things, you are at risk for losing your business for good. I'm Melissa Franks, your On-Call COO, and this is a short little conversation about why data security and information security are policies your business must have. As a former COO in the largest financial services company in the world, I had the pleasure of being accountable for information security. Not only that, during that time, I was the chief information officer of the business. And one of the topics that I spent a significant amount of time discussing and ensuring was that the information of our clients, their most sensitive and private and personal information, was secure. This week, on full display, we saw cabinet members and elected officials that didn't adhere to information security policies, that they didn't adhere to data classification and information classification policies. And what ended up happening was a journalist was invited to a highly classified conversation, and it occurred on a piece of technology that was prohibited. This is happening inside of your business today, and if you do not have these policies and procedures in place, you are at risk for government shutdown or being bankrupt due to a civil lawsuit. How do I know this? Well, let me explain. Every jurisdiction in the United States of America has different laws around data privacy and different regulations around what you do in the event that there's been a data breach or a data leak. And this can happen in a variety of ways. The best example, the easiest one for small business owners to understand, is that a laptop gets stolen that has information about your clients. Have you ever downloaded your client information from a CRM and it's in there somewhere on your desktop or your downloads and you haven't cleaned it out? Do you know exactly what your employees are storing locally? Do you need to store very specific information to process life insurance or insurance claims, or I could go on and on and on. You have no idea who on your team or who in your business has stored what data where. And if their laptop is stolen, that becomes a data breach. And as soon as that breach occurs, depending on the location of your business, depending on the location of the clients who are impacted, you have notification requirements. You need to not only notify them, you need to notify the Secretary of State in some instances, and in some cases, there are actually federal government agencies that you need to contact. There are rules around how you manage and classify documents, data, your business. And if something happens, as simple as a cell phone getting stolen or a laptop getting stolen, you are now responsible for following the requirements of notification and management and correction that are laid out in front of you. And this is true whether you are a large corporation or you are a teeny tiny Main Street business. And what I see over and over and over again in small businesses is this isn't even a consideration. There isn't a policy around data classification. There are no rules around who can access what. There is nothing written down about how to manage equipment or devices or data as a whole. And this is putting you at risk. So what should you do? What should you do? The very first thing is for you to understand what the minimum requirements are for the jurisdiction for which you do business and the jurisdiction for where all of your clients reside. And if you are nationwide, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to take a little bit of research. The second thing that you're going to need to do once you understand all of those things is establish a formal policy and procedure document, if it's necessary, to ensure that you are compliant with said regulations in said jurisdictions for where you need to be compliant. The third thing that you're going to need to do is train all of your employees and contractors on the policies and adherence to the procedures that you've put in place. The fourth thing that you're going to need to do is check. You're going to need to audit. This is called a control. How are you going to ensure that the policies and the procedures are being followed? You're going to want to create a log. You're going to want to do some sort of assessment to make sure that the people that are working for you, including yourself, are following the rules, okay? This is how you establish these policies. And then if there's an incident, you follow all of the steps and the practices in place. Now, one additional thing that not all businesses need to do, but if you are storing medical history information, if you are storing social security numbers, if you are storing locally payment information and are not using a payment processor, if you are storing anything that would be classified classified as highly confidential. Then you need to evaluate your technology. And is it compliant? One fantastic example is if you need to adhere to HIPAA compliance, there are a limited amount of technologies and platforms and cloud-based storage services that are also HIPAA compliant. And you are required to ensure that where your data is at transit and at rest is encrypted and compliant with HIPAA. Just recently, I was working with a client who scans in medical information, and the client was using a readily available app from an app store that was not HIPAA compliant. What we ended up needing to do was search the marketplace as a whole, and there's really one, maybe two that are, and she had to begin to use those in her business. The other option, quite frankly, was to get a physical scanner and use that and ensure that it was not connected to a public network. She had to ensure that anything that was scanned in that device was not uploaded to a cloud somewhere that she had no access or control over that wasn't HIPAA compliant. These are the things that you absolutely don't think of until there's a claim filed that you breached somebody's HIPAA protections. And that can kill your business. I know this topic is not sexy. I know it is not fun, but it is necessary. So these are the steps that you can take in your business to ensure that you and your clients are protected for the long term.